Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Slovenia at 29, hosted by Diplomatist magazine in association with the Embassy of the Republic of Slovenia in New Delhi, India. My name is Kanchi Batra. I am the business editor at the Diplomatist. With social distancing in place, webinars have actually caught the fancy of businesses and individuals alike. We are all experiencing a new normal. The Diplomatist has also recognized the necessity of embracing digital and virtual options to more efficiently communicate with our partners, clients, and prospects. Of course, the significance of face-to-face interactions will never go away, but there are times when going virtual will be an essential part of our event program. At the Diplomatist, we enable our partner organizations to connect with audiences across multiple platforms to deliver an exceptional consumer experience. We are extremely honored to associate with the Embassy of the Republic of Slovenia in New Delhi, India, in hosting this particular webinar. Thank you, Ambassador, for your kind support. I also take this opportunity to apprise you all that we are planning to organize an international webinar on COVID-19 pandemic and agriculture. This digital discussion is curated by Business of Agriculture magazine, one of our reputed products, and it will take place on 8th of July at 2 p.m. Now, I would like to hand it over to today's moderator, Professor Neeta Inamdar, who is the head and Jean Monnet professor at Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Manipal. Thank you so much, Professor, for accepting our invite. I once again welcome you all to this webinar, and hope you all will find this discussion highly engaging and beneficial for your future venture. Professor Neeta, you may kindly start the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanchi, for the introduction. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin the day of this webinar. Of course, it's something very important for us with Slovenia at 29, the international webinar. I'm very pleased to be here as a moderator for this session. So just as Slovenia celebrates its independence on its statehood day on June 25th, so Diplomatist has taken this opportunity to celebrate the day with the Embassy of Slovenia in India. And there's a reason why we do it, of course, because we see Slovenia as a great fighter, the real fighter. So if you look at what happened in 1991, the kind of exuberance that you see, the kind of problems Slovenia has seen, the way it has emerged, all makes it a real fighter as I see it. And it's been an interesting journey for Slovenia. So maybe since the beginning, meeting the Copenhagen criteria and many other conditions to join EU and NATO in 2004, and meeting the Maastricht criteria and joining Eurozone in 2007, and only to land in Euro crisis by 2008-9. And from there, sailing through the entire tough period, and then the fiscal austerity of 2011 and 10 and 11, and bailing out of banks in 2013, and emerging successfully out of all this to show success to the rest of the world by 2014, a period of doubling its economic growth in from 2016 to 2017, and emerging with the credit of being the first European country to emerge out of COVID-19 very recently. So there are also a few other caps in the feather of Slovenia, that is as being the world's first green country, known for world's most sustainable tourism. So providing the best of education and appearing as the 12th best in the world and 4th best in the EU. So congratulations, Ambassador Dr. Marjan Cencen, for this outstanding journey of 29 years of freedom that is so very well utilized. Congratulations to the entire people of Slovenia for this achievement. We are happy that you have taken time to address this little gathering here about Slovenia 29. Along with the panel, we have Mr. Sujit Nair, Chairperson of Europe India Center for Business and Industry. And we also have just joining us Dr. Stanislav Raščan, Head of Asian Department and the former DG for Economic Affairs. I invite you all once again. And before we go ahead and begin, I would like to briefly introduce the ambassador. So it's really nice to know that ambassador started his journey as a school teacher and then going on to his research career in the university and coming out with a doctorate in international relations. Ambassador Cencen started, he has held several positions in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs since 1992, and that's the birth of the new Slovenia. He has worked as a counselor in the Department of Africa and Asia, Latin America, and later at the Department of Multilateral Relations. He has had earlier postings in Beijing, North America, Moscow, in different capacities, and as an ambassador again in China, accredited to Vietnam, Mongolia, and Thailand, and many other regions. He has had a very vast experience of working in different countries. In November 2019, he was appointed the ambassador of Republic of Slovenia to India. He's also the author of several scientific articles about Asia, Africa, and interestingly, he has short documentaries on India, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda for a private television station. He's also an author of the book on Chinese foreign policy, as well as a co-author of a book on Afghanistan. So very interesting journey for ambassador there, and also we look forward to listen to you, your vast experience, and also your academic insights maybe, as there are some academics who have joined us for this webinar. So over to you, Ambassador, for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Neeta. I appreciate your very kind presentation of Slovenia. And indeed, there is a week ago, even less than, we celebrated our 29th anniversary. And it doesn't look very far back, but still, that's a nice anniversary. And Slovenia has made, as you pointed out, since 1991, a long way of transforming politically and economically. We did establish very strong international relations, and we are very much incorporated into Europe and the world. Due to its geographical position, Slovenia was always closely incorporated into international community, and after independence became a member of numerous international organizations and bodies. One of our main goals, as you pointed out, was of course to be a member of the European Union and also NATO, because this is the area of the world where we belong to. So in 2004 we became a member of European Union, and then in 2008 we held the first EU presidency. And now is coming the second one next year. So tomorrow Germany is taking over. This is actually a group of countries that we call trio, and usually there are 3 countries in a row that prepare a program. So we did prepare our program together with Germany and Portugal. The same was in 2004. 2008. And with this presidency, I see also the opportunity to put Slovenia into the map of Indian people and strengthen our cooperation also due to this fact. And EU, as you know, is also strengthening cooperation with India in many fields, and India is among main EU trade partners. And the coming EU-India summit will further widen our cooperation. Besides strengthening trade and investments, other varieties of cooperation are gaining importance, such as renewable energy, new technologies, sustainable development, and climate change. And it's good to see that we both understand the importance of these fields in our joint efforts to support stronger cooperation. Trade and investments will be key for the post-corona recovery, and the future might bring to the fore a number of converging interests between EU and India and Slovenia as its member, such as defense and rule-based multilateral system of governance, the need for defense strategic sectors from predatory acquisitions, the importance of revisiting global supply chains, and others. Slovenia supports a free trade agreement between European Union and India, and also possible separate investment protection agreement, as well as high-level dialogue on trade. By joining the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence as founding members this month, this was, I think, 15th of June, Slovenia and India will actively participate in the global development of artificial intelligence, leveraging our experience around the use of digital technologies for inclusive growth. I'm also glad to point out that Institut Jožef Stefan from our capital Ljubljana was recently declared as International Center for Artificial Intelligence by UNESCO. Slovenia and India are longtime partners and like-minded friends, and despite many geopolitical changes during the last few decades, managed to keep stable relations at official as well as people-to-people level. Our political relations are strong and were given a new momentum with the visit of President Ramnath Kovind in September 2019 to Slovenia. The implementation of the signed programs and memorandums of understanding during the visit will also add to the strengthening of our economic cooperation. More Slovenian companies are interested in investing in India, and there are more and more inquiries by Indian companies to open their base in Slovenia. The increased interest was confirmed by the number of signed memorandums and programs during the visit. We are also pleased that 2 Slovenian companies will be participating in the Clean Ganga project and thus making a difference on the ground. In addition, the interest of cooperation between the startup companies and of both countries is expressed in the field of electric car development. New opportunities for cooperation are also in the automotive industry, renewable energies and other green technologies, and of course tourism. With better knowledge and mutual understanding through events like the one today, we also we are better equipped to contribute to even further increase of economic and trade relations. And I want to also point out a few elements of our recent relations. The first one is, of course, that India has shown its solidarity with providing Slovenia with pharmaceutical products that we needed during the peak of the crisis. So we are very thankful. We also appreciate, and especially the embassy here in Delhi, that your Ministry of External Affairs was helping us to repatriate Slovenian citizens that were stranded around India. This was quite a big project. All in all, we can say, after establishing our diplomatic relations in 1992, that our relations are excellent. They are friendly, and there are no open issues among us, and there are many opportunities to upgrade them. The state visit of Prime Minister Borut Pahor to India in 2011 was the first peak of our bilateral relations, and this was the highest representatives from Slovenia to visit until that time. And of course, the visit of President Kovind to Slovenia last year was another peak of our bilateral relations. I would like to say that among more than 200 countries in the world, we feel fortunate to have this kind of exchange of visits between our two countries. There were numerous agreements and memorandums signed during the visit. One of them was a program of cooperation in the fields of culture, arts, education, sports, and media for the period until 2024. There was also a program on scientific and technological cooperation between the governments of our two countries, 2020-22. Memorandum of understanding on cooperation in the field of sports. program on cooperation between the Slovenian Institute for Standardization and the Office of Indian Standards on technical cooperation in the field of standardization. Also, the agreement between our two investment institutions, Spirit and Invest India, and the Memorandum of Understanding between Maribor Water Management Bureau and the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. As I mentioned before, this was regarding the Clean Ganga project. These are not the only two visits we witnessed for the last 25 years or so. We had many visitors from India at Slovenian international forum, which is called Bled Strategic Forum, at the level of the chairman of the parliament or a state minister of foreign affairs. This is a growing event every year, except this year we'll have it a little bit on a smaller scale because of the situation. Our leaders meet also on sidelines of big events. The latest one, for example, was in December last year when our two ministers of external affairs met at the Rome Mediterranean Dialogue Conference. We also have established the mechanism of bilateral political consultation, and we are looking forward to hold the next consultations as soon as possible. We are also participating in international events in India, one of them being Raisina Dialogue, organized by ORF just this year, the latest one. Our relations among the parliaments are also encouraging. The Slovenian parliament established a friendship group with India during the latest, after the latest elections. India has also established a friendship group during the Prime Minister's visit, and now we are looking forward to establish a new one. And I'm also looking forward to visit the parliament. I was actually in Indian parliament, but at the working session. The multilateral cooperation is an important part of our foreign policy as well as India. And we share similar view on numerous issues. We have a good cooperation within the group of friends of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, group of friends of Sport and Development and Peace, group of friends of Sustainable Cities and United Nations Alliance of Civilization. And we recognize India's key role in the current multipolar world as a pillar of stability in a complex region. Slovenia and India have similar views on topics like group of friends of sustainable cities, group of friends of Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and Allies, and sports for development and peace. And we are also supporting each other within the UN system. The latest one, it's not a secret anymore, and I would like to congratulate India being elected to non-permanent member of Security Council. It's very nice to see India with such a big support of so many countries. And we appreciate India's support to multilateralism and recognize its role in current multipolar world as a pillar of stability. And Slovenia also continues to support strong EU-India relations. So we are certainly looking forward into the next EU-India summit, which is supposed to happen very soon. The Slovenian EU presidency, which will be held in 2021, I hope will be also the opportunity to strengthen our bilateral cooperation. So I would maybe check with my colleague in Slovenia, Dr. Raščan. Shall I go through the economic cooperation a little bit, or are you going to do it? Shall I do it? Okay, thank you. I won't be too long. So the economic cooperation is getting stronger, and we are actually exploring new areas of cooperation, not just trade and investment. Our numbers are maybe not as big as with other big partners. Like last year, we had 361 million euro trade exchange, but we need to take into account that Slovenia is 2 million people. So, and the trend is growing. Our main exports to India are nucleic acids and salts, antibiotics, flat rolled products, hydraulic turbines, and aircraft, which I'm particularly proud to mention because our Slovenian producer of ultralight airplanes signed the agreement with Indian Army as well. We import also medicines, gas oils, heterocyclic compounds, and other elements. But also I can say that there are other promising areas of cooperation, and this is very important now with the COVID crisis and new approach, where Slovenia is one of the countries that believes that we should go more green. This is the opportunity to transform our economies, and I'm following also the Indian ideas for the future development, and I can see we'll have many options to work together better. We do have some companies that establish their offices in India. One of them is called Bosio, that established joint venture for production of industrial furnaces for the steel, blacksmithing, foundry, and defense industries. Male Electrica is also one of the producers that's in automotive industry, and then pharmaceutical are produced by Cencen. We also have established two bodies for establishing stronger cooperation among us. One is Slovenian Indian Business Council that was established in 2013, together with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Slovenia, and the Indo-Slovenian Business Forum that was established in New Delhi in August 2014. And we already had certain business events during this time. I'm sorry. A very important element of our cooperation is logistics and connectivity. This is a kind of a fashion lately, but also it's very important from a pragmatic point of view. Slovenia has one port which is called Koper, and if you look into the map of Europe, you will see the port of Koper to the far, let's say, northwestern part of Adriatic Sea, which is a part of Mediterranean. And this is one of the challenges we are still facing, to put the name of Koper into the mind of business people in India, because by Koper you can shorten the transit of goods to Europe for 2 to 3 days or even more. And from Koper you can reach Central Europe by train in a very short time. Koper is very much interested in cooperation with Indian partners, and last year they sent a logistic delegation to India already, and there is a new discussion going on how to go on with this. We are also looking into specific high technologies projects. I mentioned IT before, that is certainly one thing. And maybe to conclude my presentation is also that people-to-people relations are very good. I dare to say, since I'm a little bit older generation, I was in India for the first time in 1978. Everybody in every part of India, even the remote areas, as I call it, Odisha or central India, they knew about our former country. So, of course, I would like to see Slovenia being present very much as well. There is no fear for India not to be known in Slovenia. Even among the ordinary people, India is known as a peaceful country with very rich literature, and we are supporting this, and we do have a decent cooperation in the area of literature and film and also musical arts. We have statues of or monuments of Mahatma Gandhi in one of our cities, Slovenj Gradec, which is our capital of the United Nations. And Mr. Nehru in another part close to Italy. Also, in September last year, the Post of Slovenia actually issued a commemorative postal stamp on the occasion of the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's birth. And there are many more fields. Sports, I was just discussing with one of our Olympians who is planning to host Indian youth in Slovenia to train different sports. He was an alpine skier, but he has other colleagues who do other sports as well. Not cricket as much as you do it. And also universities are very eager and keen to start cooperation. Some of them, they're already working together. I believe today we have at least 2 of them from India that participate in cooperation with Slovenia, and we could talk about this a little bit later. So thank you very much.
So thank you, Ambassador, for this presentation about Slovenia and also about introducing the India-Slovenia relations. Of course, there have been a stronger connect even with the former Yugoslavia, with Indira Gandhi and Tito having very good collaboration, particularly to do with non-aligned movement. They have both worked towards non-aligned movement, and maybe we'll get back to that a little later. Meanwhile, I now invite Mr. Sujit Nair. He's the chairperson of Europe India Center for Business and Industry, an independent think tank which hosts projects and international forums for the promotion of specific business and geopolitical initiatives in UK-EU-India corridor. During the course of this decade, under his leadership, this association has organized or hosted 24 business summits in European Union. Of course, most of them have been in the British Parliament and a couple of them in European Parliament in Brussels. So these things have engaged around 3,000 stakeholders, including elected political leaders, bureaucrats, and business executives. So I now invite Mr. Nair to make a brief presentation, after which we can ask another panelist. Over to you, Mr. Nair.
Thank you, Professor Neeta. Thank you, Ambassador. It was a very insightful presentation, interaction and stuff. The way I have structured my discussion is have few remarks, few details. I would then look forward to having more of a discussion and interaction going forward. As we all know, Slovenia is part of the European Union, and my expertise over the years have been in playing a role in promoting closer trade and relation between India and European Union on a broader context. So obviously it's at the macro level, not at the country-specific level. So what we have done is that we have done a number of activities at the European Parliament in Brussels, as Professor Neeta was mentioning, and we have done these two delegations. We have also had delegation visits of European MPs to India and have them engage in discussion with elected officials, trade body representatives, and business executives. Specific to the European Union, how we have been engaging is through the delegation of European Union to India, which is a grouping in the European Parliament, which has specific interest of promoting economic, political, and social situation in India. So during our previous summits, we have had both the chair and the vice chair of the delegation of the European, the delegation at the European Parliament, which looks specifically in India, participating in our activities. One interesting stuff which I would request the ambassador to have a look at is of the members of the European Parliament, which makes up this delegation. We do not yet have a member of European Parliament from Slovenia who is part of the delegation. I believe Slovenia sends around 8 members of European Parliament, 8 members of European Parliament to the European Parliament. And interestingly, we don't have a member. Sorry, sir, is it 8? Couldn't see that.
7 of them.
Okay.
I think he said 7.
Yeah? No, it's okay. It's 8.
Okay, yeah. So, and interestingly, we don't have anybody from Slovenia who's part of this delegation of the European Union to India. But for the delegation of the European Union to China, there are 2 MEPs from Slovenia. And in the case of the delegation for the European Union to South Asia, which has 1 MEP, the South Asia delegation focuses on Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives, Nepal. It does not have India. So, of course, there is no representation from Slovenia into this delegation. So, now there are a lot of slots open in the delegation because you have the British MEPs moving out post this Brexit conversation and stuff. And also, currently the chair also was a British MEP who was being moved out. So there's slots right at the chairman position to the members who would make up the MEPs. So I would sort of request the ambassador to hopefully have a word. So we can probably have at least 1 MEP considering coming in. The reason is that the reason why it would be very interesting to have an MEP coming in as per the delegation of the European Union to India is because there are a lot of FTAs, the free trade agreements discussion, which India and European Union have been having. I think it's been more than a decade now, but we don't see it sort of getting refutation. I mean, there's been a lot of concerns on both the sides. And it would be important that we have a Slovenian voice which can actually put forward their thoughts when those agreements are hopefully going to be structured during the next summit or hopefully at the earliest and stuff. So this is one of the requests which probably the ambassador can have a look at it. And also in the case of the situation, how it would evolve post-Brexit, and you had a lot of Indian companies, because obviously our engagement over the past 10 years have been dealing with the European Union by being based in UK. I mean, that is what you see with a lot of Indian companies. A lot of Indian companies, when they sort of, at least the majority of them, when they want to sort of engage with the European Union, what they do is that they set up their office in UK, London, or any of these regions, and then they have their executives traveling across the European Union and engage with companies and doing business. So considering this Brexit scenario and the way it's been hopefully being planned out, looks like it might be a hard Brexit, where it would be important for companies to have a dual structure if they want to do business in Europe. I mean, they need to have a legal entity in UK, then they need to have a separate legal entity within the European Union to help them to sort of pursue business out there. So this provides a great opportunity for Slovenia to hopefully bring out a lot of incentives for Indian companies who might be looking at a base once they move out of London or any of the UK destinations to do business within the European Union, within the mainland Europe. So this provides a great opportunity to work on certain packages, certain incentives by which Indian companies who are already doing business in Europe by being based in UK can sort of move their base to Slovenia and stuff. So this can be an idea which can be worth looking at it. So these are a few of the remarks which are initially structured out and that thing. So if there are certain questions, I would be more happy to have a discussion and take it forward.
Thank you, Mr. Nair. Would you like to respond to that, Ambassador Cencen?
I can try, yeah. About the European Parliament, I know that sometimes, you know, if you have very few representatives in the European Parliament, there are certain rules who is becoming a member of certain group and also limits. But I would certainly keep this in mind. We do have contacts with our European parliamentarians and point out this fact, which is important to know. I wasn't aware. About the Brexit and the opportunities of companies in other European countries, of course, we are now discussing a lot about changing supply chains because of different countries and different reasons. And of course, UK is still in negotiations with the European Union. But certainly there be some areas of cooperation where other member states would take over this part, and Slovenia is certainly interested into logistics, as I said, part of IT and green technologies, and we'll probably find the opportunity to take some of these, but of course, on the other hand, the cooperation between UK and India will go on, so they will not disappear. They will stay with their own interests. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, both of you. And now I invite Dr. Stanislav Raščan, the head of Asian Department and the former DG of Economic Affairs. So over to you.
Thank you very much, and greetings from Slovenia. I would like to say a few words on the base of the conversation between our two foreign ministers, Dr. Jaishankar and Dr. Logar, which I was present a few weeks ago. And next to me, I have Ambassador Jukic. He is responsible for economic relations between our two countries. So if there is a need, he will help me also in dealing with economical cooperation between our two countries. Although I must say that Ambassador Dr. Cencen did a very good job in comprehensive introduction of our relations. Let me start with saying that India has good action and fight against COVID-19 because the numbers are still quite low compared to the size of the country. So we received the information that there are 500,000 infected people and 16,000 deaths. Of course, compared to Slovenia, we have quite good numbers and only 100 plus dead people and about 1,500 infected people. And I should thank you immediately, India, for giving us some supply of pharmaceutical needs at the beginning of the pandemic. And we would also like to thank, as Ambassador Cencen said already, for preparing repatriation of Slovenian citizens back home. And of course, we did also all our help for repatriating of Indian citizens back home. And among them was also former Indian ambassador to Slovenia, Ambassador Mann, So he was waiting a little bit in Slovenia. And if I say immediately that this pharmaceutical business is quite strong in India, of course, but also in Slovenia, and not only home pharmaceutical companies, but also big pharmaceutical companies like Novartis. They have took over part of the big Slovenian company called LEK, and they are also very active in India. So this is another link to international cooperations, through international big companies, where also we can find our cooperation. And let me thank organizers, and especially Professor Neeta for giving overview of the historical facts. I'm always happy to see how somebody from foreign country is going through this 30 years almost of our independence, and of course through our history. And let me say, I was thinking, because I was before in the analytical policy planning department, that we did have actually quite some crises, economical crisis, financial crisis, independent crisis, so to say, where we lost once again 80% of our trade partners in former Yugoslavia, and we switch towards West. And we, our companies, our business people were able to do it. So can you imagine, in few years, in few months sometime, they did switch from former Yugoslavia to Western countries. So I hope that also during this and after this pandemic, COVID-19, we will came out stronger, and with finding out a new path of cooperation. And during my years at the Department for Economic Diplomacy, we did also tried very hard to switch this 70 and 80, sometimes 90% of our economic dependence, cooperation with European Union to find, you know, also third markets, and one of them for sure is India. So all important political visits, nowadays webinars, nowadays audio video talks, telephone calls, and so on, are important to boost this cooperation. And I'm happy to say from the scene that our two ministers found chemistry immediately in the telephone conversation. So they were inviting each other to visit each other. And we did prepare already for the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia visit with a strong economical business delegation. And we will do the same for this minister when time allows. Because there was really a sincere wish to go to India as soon as possible. So the numbers are also quite impressive, 360 million euros. If we see this, especially from the eyes of Slovenia and all these circumstances I was speaking about, 80% of our trade being done in the European Union. And as always, there is still space for improvement. especially in, coming out of this trade, Indian national goods, which I remember also even from former Yugoslavia, there were many Indian shops and so on, to the high-tech industry. Maybe we can say also that pharmacy can be high tech products, but with artificial intelligence, with both countries trying to be active in all forums, new forums about artificial intelligence. I hope we will be able to increase also this trade in this high added value. And as Ambassador Cencen mentioned, culture, sports, even movies, films are another possibility to increase our cooperation. We had a few Indian movies. Bollywood came also to Slovenia, boosted tourism. So we hope that very soon we will be able to continue with this cooperation. And I can tell you that Slovenia is not only Hollywood movies, but many foreign countries, embassies are showing their culture also through, let's say, Japanese Movies Week, Bangladeshi Movies Weeks, and so on. So also Indian movies are well known in Slovenia and can be presented as an opportunity for presenting in the country. And if I also touch a little bit this very good proposal of Mr. Nair to be more active on the EU level, Parliament and so on, I can tell you that our former, actually first Prime Minister and Vice Foreign Minister, Mr. Peterle, was MP of European Parliament, who was in promotion of health. So he did went many times to India on not official body of the European Parliament, but to many meetings of the Ayurveda, yoga, and so on. So there are also possibilities maybe for our MPs in European Parliament, as Ambassador Dr. Cencen mentioned. There are certain rules and numbers and so on, but then there is always opportunity, to do also something on the side, something to promote also Slovenian Indian relations. And by the way, Yoga Day is celebrated in Slovenia. Thousands of participants are went time allows and there is no pandemic to gather together for the Yoga World Day. Prime Minister Modi is sending a letter to our Prime Minister Janša, and we kindly reply to this Yoga Day, World Yoga Day, since yoga is also very known and practiced in Slovenia. And on the other side, I know that Ambassador Cencen is very active in in proposing and promoting World Bee Day, since bees are now also being promoted in United Nations with a special day, the 20th of May, and we are promoting it very, very, very much because bees, nature are also something which is common in Slovenia. And let me say that I did appreciate also former ambassador of India, Man, who was saying green, green, green. so green as it's Slovenia is no country to see. He was posted in Slovakia before Slovenia, in Bulgaria also, but so green country as Slovenia, he did not see before. So let me end on my specific note now with this political relations. As in every foreign ministry, we are carefully building up the meetings between the deputy ministers, head of the sectors, the directors general, ministers, to hopefully be able to send on the return visit our president in the future. And with all these visits, we always have very strong economic delegation, business delegation, business part touch of the visit. And with all this, I hope we will increase our cooperation. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for your outlaid presentation. Now, if you agree, we can have a couple of questions on Slovenia and the European Union, and then move to Slovenia-India relations. Is that okay with you? If yes, then the first question I wanted to ask you was, what has been the major achievement of the Slovenian presidency of the Council of EU in 2008, which was immediately at the time of the Euro crisis, and now the second one, which is coming up in the second half of 2021. So what were the learnings from the first presidency that would be taken to the second one, and how are you planning for the second one? If you can throw some light on that.
I can say a few words, and then I hope my colleague and a good friend, Dr. Cencen, will help me, and maybe also Ambassador Jukic. So I was very happily in 2008 to multilateral affairs in Vienna, to Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. But even there, I saw this opportunity for us being rather a smaller country, you know, so it is Germany, Portugal, Slovenia, and France. So, you know, everybody in Europe and also in the world is waiting what the Germany and France will do. And this is opportunity for the countries like Portugal and Slovenia to do something what the big one cannot do. And this was the time of the crisis also in Europe, in Georgia and so on. So I remember how good we did deal with EU Russian Federation relations. As a Slavic country, we do have a special relation, historical, cultural, with Russian Federation. And this was the reason where we could do few breakthrough between the EU and the Russian Federation. And the same was, of course, with some issues, even with the United States of America, because clearly we did not have so big national issues or national to the EU connected issues, but we were honest broker in the name of the EU, in the EU first, and then we were able to do also our part of the job with the big international either organization, as I was in the OSCE, or even to big countries. And maybe now I leave the floor to Ambassador Cencen. Thank you.
So maybe if I continue where Dr. Raščan was finishing, during the Slovenian presidency, there were 4 summits organized between European Union and third countries. And the difference between then and now is, of course, that before the Lisbon Treaty, each presidency also was leading the international affairs. And now with the Lisbon Treaty, the EU delegation is the one who will do the external relations, for example, in India. So that, at that time, we hosted the summit or organized summits with Japan, with Latin America and Caribbean, with the US and the Russian Federation. One of the achievements within this events that Dr. Raščan was mentioning, small countries can achieve something what big may not, it was the renewal of political dialogue with Cuba, which was quite a big achievement. Our other challenges at that time were, of course, the enforcement of the Lisbon Treaty, which was new. And we were paying attention to innovation at that time a lot, and we established so-called Ljubljana process with 5 liberties of free movement of knowledge. We were supporting the growth of small and medium enterprises, and we were striving for reducing the administration impediments for this development. There was a package called Eurostars that we launched at that time, and one thing which is always in the focus of Slovenian foreign politics is our neighborhood, and this is the Balkans. So we were supporting the Balkan countries to enter the EU. We are still doing this. And the Western Balkans are, of course, our immediate neighborhood, and it's very important that we keep this area stable and developed. For the future, on one hand, of course, it's kind of difficult to predict. We are facing now very new circumstances with COVID-19, and just recently the 3 ministers in charge of European affairs, they published like a plan that's called Together, and they were of course mentioning within the trio, so that means Germany, Portugal and Slovenia. Our big challenge will be to establish a more resilient society, European Union as a whole, and also to somehow establish the mechanism of crisis management, which of course now is getting somehow reshaped due to the COVID-19. We are facing now also the preparation of multi-annual fiscal framework 21-27. This should be done by the time our presidency will start. But we will certainly work on also on maintaining climate change, renewable energy, and the migration, which is, let's say, not new phenomenon, but it's getting more obvious now. So we would like to establish a permanent and, let's say, predictable solution for migration. There'll be probably other events, but I think this should be the main part. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have one question coming in from one of the audiences. That's Priya Pujari. She's asking a question. Given the current geopolitical turmoil accelerated by the pandemic, countries are now talking about the need for diversification of trade, partners and supplies. With the transatlantic relations taking a backseat under presidency of the Trump administration, as well as rising Chinese presence in the Balkans, who would Slovenia be turning to? It's a very loaded question, but I I see if you wish to answer, you can go ahead with this question. She's asking, which way would Slovenia look for?
If I may go back to my days in policy planning department, and of course, right now also, India, China, Japan, South Korea, everything is in my portfolio, Australia. So Slovenia, of course, as you mentioned, Professor Neeta is a member of European Union, of NATO. So we have certain transatlantic obligations. But on the other side, we are also member of so-called 17+1 cooperation before 16+1. So 17 Central and East European countries together with China. 12 of these countries is a full member of European Union. But we must say that almost 95%, if not more, Chinese trade and investment was in the West Europe, so-called older members of European Union, and only 35% was in East and Central Europe. So we did try to improve this, and we were successful in inviting some of Chinese investment also to Slovenia and to the other Balkan countries. But on the other side, we must say that, of course, European Union is once again providing 95% of trade relations, investment, development, cooperation, all sorts of tourism and so on. But nevertheless, we are looking also for good relations and business opportunities with India, with Japan, and Japan did reappointed their special envoy called ambassador for Western Balkan. In my days serving in Japan 20 years ago, they had a special coordinator for Western Balkan. They were very successful through JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency on Western Balkan. Also, they were helping Bosnia and Herzegovina after the war, and also other countries. I heard that they will open even embassy in Pristina, in Kosovo. So Japan is quite active, and Japan is after pandemic or even during the pandemic, COVID-19, also establishing a new supply chain, or they will replace all supply chain, so to say, only from China, also to other ASEAN countries, and even some countries in Europe. So I hope that with this in mind, we will be able also to increase the cooperation with India on the economical field. But, you know, from my side, covering the political cooperation, I hope that these good intentions, cooperation, long-standing support of democracy, freedom of media, human rights, and so on, we could increase also our cooperation with India first on the EU level, of course, and then also on the regional level in and around Western Balkan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raščan. We have now one question from Mr. Atul Kulkarni. He has sent a question here in the box. This particular question is addressed to the ambassador. He says, you mentioned about Port Koper. How is Slovenia preparing for international north-south transport corridor, which will lead to a greater engagement between the two countries? India is very keen to promote this. This is a question from Mr. Atul Kulkarni. Ambassador, would you like to go ahead and answer this question, please?
Okay, yeah. So are we connected? Do you hear me? Okay. Well, this initiative, as I understand, was actually meant for connect India with St. Petersburg via Iran and the countries in the Caucasus on that way. But Koper, of course, is a part also of the initiative that was mentioned by Dr. Raščan. This is for the Asian markets. And then the other, we also have a kind of north-south cooperation, which is called Three Seas Initiative, that connects Adriatic Sea, the Black Sea, and the Baltic Sea. And this is something where, I mean, all these three areas are important for Koper. And this is why also Koper now is looking forward to get a better connection to Central Europe by double rail track, because there is certain part that's not so well established. But Koper is certainly prepared for wider cooperation. And before coming to India, I visited Port of Koper. They are certainly trying to attract India as well. So if I understand that the concept, if this is the one I am thinking, so that means that Koper is on the way, but a little bit more to the west, but still very much connected to that area. But if we combine this with 3 Cs and 17+1, this is a very, let's say, a wide and rich connectivity idea. Thank you.
There's another question from Lawrence Hababe, if I'm correctly pronouncing. Lawrence is asking, do you see any issues with the progress on the 3 Cs initiative, of which Slovenia is a member? So would you like to answer this? Because I thought you go ahead immediately after this question.
Well, maybe Dr. Raščan can say something about this, if it's his,
yeah. If I may, I will give the floor to Ambassador Jukic.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I think we are heading towards the end of the session, so I will not prolong this by this with this question. As my colleague Marjan already said, 3 Cs is one of the initiatives. It's very important for us for several reasons. The previous question was more about the Port of Koper, which is from the south entry point into this initiative from logistic point of view, but it's not just that, it goes beyond that. You know, there are several projects in the pipeline. This initiative is getting ground. We are looking forward for the summit in Tallinn, Estonia. That's the next 3 Cs initiative. The previous one is in Ljubljana, in Slovenia. So there's not really an issue. The only issue is this initiative is having a value. It's having its importance, and we see these initiatives as essential part of our connectivity into the several corridors from different points of view. As you see on the map, our geographic location is, even though it's a small country, relatively small, especially when we talk about India standards, but we are really in the heart of all these transport routes, logistical routes, which is good for trade and for everything. So I don't think there's any issue with these 3 Cs. We are just looking forward to move on and to add something concrete into this initiative. Thank you.
Okay, so we have another question here, which is, if we are aware the deep relations India had with the Balkan states in second part of the 20th century. So this question is from Boyan Didzarevic. Sorry for just attempting this name. If we are aware of the deep relations India had with the Balkan states in the second part of the 20th century, how do we explain the relatively low investment and trade numbers from India in the 21st century compared to other major economies like China, USA, Russia, and even South Korea and Japan? This question is actually very interesting, but I don't know if you would like to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have the Indian counterpart to answer this question.
Yeah, well, from as I see it, I think that there are some investments, not so much from India. I think the reason is also that we should ask Indian business people what is behind. But I certainly see as my task to make Slovenia, as I mentioned before, more present in Indian business environment, and hopefully not just by audio video conferences, but with participating in events where we can present Slovenia. I did this until March this year, and my predecessor did a lot of work as well. So I think it takes time. It takes time to attract foreign investors. And Slovenia is also, well, not a big market by itself. So it's very important that foreign investors understand that entering Slovenia does not mean only 2 million consumers, but it means close to 500 million consumers. Or, well, if we deduct the UK, it's less now, but still. So I think it's a matter of proper presentation and also to understand the opportunities. And times have changed. So I think that it's upon us as well to seize the new opportunities. Thank you.
We have another question from Udita Lakar. It's about artificial intelligence. So she's asking, so Slovenia is all set to lead Europe and the world in this concern, as well as become the founder member of the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence with India recently. Question is, will it adversely affect the future job creation, as everything will solely be dependent on automation? And if yes, how will we defeat the problem? So this is a very large question, but
okay, yeah. I don't hear you anymore.
Okay, this is a larger question about artificial intelligence, but hope you heard the question that I read out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I caught most of it. I think that's a general dilemma with automatization and high technology. That's something which I think we should see as an opportunity, especially since India is also a society with very creative young labor force that's very capable in its knowledge about the IT. And Slovenia has a certain niche in certain areas. So this is an opportunity to create new jobs. I wouldn't see it that much as disappearing all jobs. I mean, all the jobs are always disappearing, and if we pretend that this is not happening, that's only a problem. But I look forward for this area because the center at Josef Stefan Institute that I was mentioning under UNESCO is something what has also a very big potential. Within this new global alliance, Slovenia also nominated 8 of its experts from different areas of cooperation. So I see that we could work on this well, closely in the future. Thank you.
Right. There's one question from Preeti Amaresh, and I think she's asking about COVID-19. She wants to know how Slovenia has been able to combat COVID-19 and what are the kind of public health infrastructure that you have. Probably that's something to learn, she thinks, but of course the size and the numbers are very different. But still, if you would like to go ahead and answer about your health infrastructure.
I think there are 2 reasons why Dr. Raščan would be the best to answer this question. I hope he agrees.
So, well, I'm not, Dr. Raščan, I'm not yet the PhD, so maybe I'm not the most relevant here. But yes, we have a health system. We have a public health. So mostly it's, I don't know in percentage, but it's the bulk of the health facilities are public health. We have quite diversified network of large hospitals, and then we have a small stations throughout the countries. So from this perspective, it was manageable, you know, to handle this COVID-19 response. I would just relate to my previous answer, which was completely different. But again, I would point out our geographic location, why we had to be very cautious and very serious from the very beginning fighting COVID-19, because it's our location. We are the transit country. We have on our western borders, we have our dear neighbors, Italy, which was very hard hit by COVID-19, especially North Italy. And then, as I said, we are a transit country, so there is a main routes, land routes from Western Europe through Central Europe down to the Balkans and Middle East. So we took it very seriously from the beginning, all institutions. So we adjusted our daily behaviors, our businesses, government endorsed, adopted 3 packages of legislation, how to help out companies, public services, and so on, without going into details. But if the question is about who is bearing the bulk of responsibility when it comes to health, it's a public health, because we rely on a public health system.
Thank you, and we have one more question, which sounds to me more like a personal question. It is from Muralidharan Nagaraj. He says they are a company leaders of exporting branded agro-food products like coffee, tea, whole wheat, and spices. So what are the export opportunities and channels for establishing exports? Further, we are keen to partner with local infrastructure firms for participating in international tenders in renewable energy, solar. So further, we are also exploring many medical supplies for COVID-19 emergency supplies, including PPEs. He's asking, please advise your take in these areas to enable us follow up and establish good business opportunities relations with your nation. So, it's a very, please.
I can be very quick. I suggest to the company or gentleman who has the question to address a bit more specifically this inquiry to our embassy, to Ambassador Cencen and his colleagues, and he will convey this message to us, and we will forward it to our Chamber of Commerce. I think they can find the right match. And then it's up to the companies, of course, to conduct this business.
Yeah, I would just add. Can I add a little bit?
Please
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just to understand. So these inquiries are always good, but also I would suggest those who are having interest in doing business with Slovenia, our announcements via the website and our social media, when there are delegations, this is always a good opportunity to meet high-level officials who can actually give them very good answers about very specific questions, and also join the delegations that are organized. We were mentioning before, there are delegations planned both ways, from India to Slovenia and from Slovenia to India. And we usually try to organize business conferences. And the best, of course, once he got the basic information, is simply to visit Slovenia. We can help to organize meetings, and this would help, because seeing is believing, as we say. Thank you.
So now there are a few questions relating to the educational connect between the two countries. And there's one question here by Sujit Khanna. He's asking, could Slovenia consider hosting diverse online educational opportunities for collaboration and exchange between schools for students and educators, which in time could translate into travel for each other to each other countries? And there's also another question about education here from Professor Pramod Mehra of Indira Gandhi National Open University, and which was sent earlier to us. So what are the options available for students and teachers for a healthy academic exchange? And is there a roadmap to enhance that in the future? So these are relating to higher education connect between the two regions. So who maybe you would like to go ahead and answer that?
Okay, I can do a little bit, because I was present at on two occasions. We already have established cooperation between the high schools and the universities. Our universities are, of course, very much interested about post-graduate students or graduate students. And some of them, they are actually studying in Slovenia, not as many as we would like to. Our faculties are now enlarging their programs that are taught in English, because that's an important part. We have joint bilateral agreements, and Slovenian, like University of Ljubljana, has cooperation with certain universities in India already, but they are interested into doing more of this kind of cooperation. As we are discussing high schools, this is at least what I saw is more like get to know each other and socializing and exchange cultural programs. And this went very well. I've witnessed one of this exchange. Certainly the embassy can help in connecting those who are interested in exchange of students. And the third thing is, of course, also the exchange of academics. And we are always interested into exchange of university professors, because we know that we have knowledge on both sides, and we are open to it. Thank you.
So that's when you look at Indian higher education, we also have a large number of nursing institutions, nursing colleges and nursing institutions. I was just looking at the numbers, and I find that there is increasing need for geriatric care in the country. And so if you would be interested in going ahead and having this kind of a human resource in public health, particularly in healthcare, for coming in from nursing for geriatric care in Slovenia.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's certainly I think that we could discuss with the institutions that are more involved into this, because I cannot tell you specifics, but there are certain needs in the area of geriatric care as well.
So when it comes to the cultural connect between the two nations, all that I see is, of course, I come from Karnataka, and I also saw that a couple of Kannada films have been. But apart from that, a long-term cultural connection between the two nations, is it something that you're planning, or do you have a vision for that? As to how do we connect the literary world? Do we have a very strong culture of theater, of music? There's a lot more. Of course, there's yoga, but of course, there's a lot more beyond that. So are you looking at these things when we connect the two cultures?
Well, certainly we, as I mentioned before, we have a program in this area, but they are specific events that we organize. We have one writer in Slovenia who visited India on many occasions, and his works like novels and dramas are translated into different languages within your country. They are musicians who come one way or another. So one thing I discussed recently with your future ambassador to Slovenia, I think it's very important to start joint projects, so that our artists can prepare joint project and do performances in both countries, because this would somehow connect them closer. It's not just that, that would make more sense. That's certainly one thing we are looking forward. About the film industry, also we were present at certain festivals that are usually organized by the European Union. So we are members of this group that goes around the country and presents films. We try to be in many as possible. About the future shooting of Indian films in Slovenia, I discussed with some of high officials also from your Ministry of External Affairs. We'll need to find the people who would be interested from Bollywood to see the beautiful scenery in Slovenia and do some, hopefully a very hit film, so that would promote Slovenia as well. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe. So is that in what other ways do you see in promoting tourism, particularly in India, from India, Indian tourists coming to Slovenia? Of course, there's films, of course, there's Bollywood. Beyond that, what other things are you seeing to attract more tourists from India?
Well, the thing is that Slovenia itself is not so much present as a tourist destination, but there are always tourists who go to, let's say, more popular sites around Europe, and sooner or later they hear about Slovenia, or they travel, for example, from Vienna to Venice, and Slovenia is in between. And there is important that we do further promotion. It's not easy to promote, Slovenia, but I'm not trying to promote it now, because I'm sure you know a lot about Slovenia, but we should point out our niches, what makes us specific, and I believe me, there are many unique things we do have in Slovenia.
Thank you very much. We have a few more questions, but they're to do with China, India, and quite a few. Maybe you can have a look at the Q&A box below that. Some interesting questions coming in, but unfortunately we are done with time, and I apologize to audience whose questions we could not take here. And I take this opportunity to thank Ambassador Cencen and Dr. Raščan, Mr. Nair, for taking time out and being a part of this panel, and for sharing candidly all that you thought could be shared on this platform. Thank you very much. And I thank Kanchi for making this platform available to all of us for this interaction. Thank you very much. And thanks to all the audience who participated actively and asked questions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And I look forward for our future events. Thank you.